Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Ralph. I'm Ralph, and today we'll learn in very simple English.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aria. Let's learn together.
So today we are actually looking at two tiny words. They are very short, but man, they cause big problems for English learners like all over the world. We're going to completely master the words so and such.
Yeah, that's right. And let's start by just imagining a situation. Imagine you're taking a really important English speaking test.
Oh, that's always stressful.
Exactly. You're super nervous, your hands are a little sweaty, and you want to tell the examiner about a wonderful friend you have back home. So you open your mouth, you smile, and you say, "She is so a kind person."
Oh, no. I can see it.
Whoa.
Yeah, the examiner frowns. You see them make a little mark on their paper.
Yeah.
And you just freeze up. You know you made a mistake, but you don't know exactly what went wrong because it felt right in your head.
Exactly. It happens every single day. People who speak English very well will suddenly get confused right in the middle of a sentence. They try to use so or such, and they say something like, "She is such kind," or "He is so a good driver."
And it just sounds a little strange to a native speaker.
It does, yeah. But for a learner, it's incredibly frustrating because they don't know why it's wrong.
Right. And that is exactly what we're fixing today. So our mission for this deep dive is really simple. By the time we finish, you, the listener, will feel completely confident.
Absolutely.
You won't just guess which word to use. You'll actually know the secret rule. You will understand exactly why so and such behave the way they do.
I really love that goal. But before we look at the grammar rules, we first need to understand what these words actually do in real life. Like, what's their job?
Right. What are they for?
Well, both so and such are what we call intensifiers. Now, I know that's a big, heavy grammar word.
Yeah, it sounds complicated.
It does, but don't worry about the word itself. Let me explain what it means in very simple English. An intensifier is just a word that makes a feeling or a description stronger.
Okay, so think of it like a volume button on your television or, your phone. Let's say a friend cooks dinner for you. You eat the food, and you say, "The meal was good."
Nice and simple.
Yeah, that's nice. It's polite. That is normal volume. But what if you want to show real excitement?
Well, you turn up the volume, you say, "The meal was so good."
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, it's not just polite anymore. It has energy. It has real human emotion. You basically pushed the volume button up to the maximum level.
Okay, I get it. Both words turn up the volume. So if so and such do the exact same job, I have a plan.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm just going to choose my favorite one. So it's shorter, so I'll just use it for everything. I'll say, "That was so a good movie, and you were so a nice friend." Problem solved, right?
Stop right there. You just fell straight into the trap.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that is the exact mistake we're warning everyone about. You can't just pick your favorite word. Yes, they do the same job. They both turn up the volume, but they follow completely different rules. They behave very differently when you put them inside a sentence.
I see. So it's sort of like having two different tools in a toolbox. A hammer and a screwdriver both help you build a house, but you can't hit a nail with a screwdriver. It just doesn't work.
That is a perfect way to look at it. So let's pull out our first tool. Let's look at the word "so" and figure out exactly where it belongs.
All right, what's the rule?
The first rule is super simple. The word "so" goes right before an adjective. Now, an adjective is just a describing word. It tells us about something.
Like happy, tired, big, beautiful, hungry.
Exactly. "So" loves to sit right next to those describing words.
Let me test that out. So if I'm describing my feeling, I say, "I am so happy."
Perfect.
If I'm describing the weather, I say, "It's so cold." And if I'm describing my body, I say, "I am so tired."
Yes.
You're right. The word "so" sits right next to the describing word. It kind of stretches the feeling to make it bigger.
It does. And it doesn't just work for adjectives. It also works for adverbs.
Adverbs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Remind us what those are.
Yeah, an adverb is just a word that describes how you do an action. Like, how do you speak? Quickly. How do you drive? Slowly. How did you sleep? Well, you can put "so" right in front of those words, too.
Okay, let's turn the volume up on those actions. She speaks so quickly. He drives so slowly. They played the game so well.
Spot on.
This actually feels very easy. You just drop the word "so" directly in front of the feeling or the action.
It is easy, and honestly, that's why learners get too comfortable. They start putting "so" in front of everything. But here's the big mistake. This is the mechanism you really need to understand.
Okay, I'm listening.
What happens if I add a physical thing to the sentence? Let's say I want to talk about a teacher. Can I say, "She is so a good teacher"?
Well, I feel like I've heard people say that, but It sounds broken.
It is broken. You absolutely cannot put so before a noun.
A noun.
Yes, a noun is a solid thing, a person, a place, an object. A teacher is a noun, a meal is a noun, a child is a noun.
But why? Like, why does the rule exist? Why does the word so hate nouns so much?
Well, let's go back to your idea of stretching things. Think of so as a word that only attaches to stretchy things, like feelings or descriptions.
Stretchy things.
Right? You can stretch a feeling. You can be a little happy, very happy, or extremely happy. The feeling stretches. But a noun, a physical thing, is solid. Think of a table.
You can't stretch a table.
Exactly. You can't be very table or so table. When you add a solid object into the sentence, the word so breaks. It just can't hold the heavy weight of a physical thing.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense. So only works on stretchy feelings, not solid objects. Let's practice this to make sure our listeners have it locked in their minds. I'll read a sentence and let's see if it's correct.
The food was so delicious.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Delicious is a feeling, a description. It stretches. So works perfectly there.
Okay, how about this? It was so a delicious meal.
Broken. You just dropped a heavy, solid object into the sentence, the meal.
The meal.
Yep, the word so shatters. We need a different tool for that. Let's do another one. I was so excited.
Correct. Excited is a stretchy feeling.
I was so an excited child.
Wrong. Child is a person. It's a noun. The rule is completely broken.
All right, I think the solid object rule is completely clear now. If there's a noun, so doesn't work. But wait. Before we move on, I know there's one special group of words where we always use so, even if it seems a little different. We need to talk about quantity.
Yes, that's a really important detail. Quantity just means how much of something you have. The word so loves to sit next to 4 specific words. Much, many, few, and little.
Oh, right. Like there was so much food at the party, or there were so many people in the store.
Exactly. Or you could say we had so little time to finish the test. There were so few seats left on the train.
Right.
These are just fixed chunks of words. You don't even need to think about the grammar rules for these. Just memorize them as little sets. So much, so many, so few, so little.
Yeah, native speakers use those chunks constantly. I mean, if you're talking about commuting to work in London or New York, you'll say, there was so much traffic today. You'll hear that phrase every single morning. Just lock those chunks into your brain.
You know, if you're listening right now and you're finally starting to understand why so a good teacher is wrong, I want to gently interrupt for just a second. We are about 5 minutes into our deep dive today. If this simple English lesson is helping you make sense of this tricky grammar, please take a quick second to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please do. It really helps us keep the lights on and helps us bring more simple, clear English lessons to learners all around the world who might be struggling with these exact same words.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get back into the toolbox. You've got a problem. You understand that so breaks when it hits a solid object, but you still want to talk about that solid object. You still want to turn up the volume when you describe the meal or the child. What do you do?
I mean, I guess I need a stronger tool. A tool that's built to carry the heavy weight of a noun. And that brings us to the word such.
Exactly. Such is built specifically for nouns. The rule is that such goes right before a noun phrase.
A noun phrase.
Yeah. Let's break down what a noun phrase is in very simple English. Think of it like a sandwich. It usually has 3 parts. First, you have the word a, or an, that's the bottom piece of bread. Then you have the describing word, that's the meat inside the sandwich. Finally, you have the noun, the solid thing, that's the top piece of bread.
Okay, let's build a sandwich together. Bottom bread is a, the meat is kind, top bread is woman. Put it together. A kind woman, that's our complete noun phrase. Now, to turn up the volume, we just put our new tool right at the front. She is such a kind woman.
Perfect. Let's build another one. A beautiful day. Put our heavy lifting tool at the front. It was such a beautiful day. Or a hard question. That was such a hard question.
Now, here's a question for you. Can I just, leave the bread off the sandwich? Can I just give someone the meat and the top bread? Can I say, she is such a kind woman?
No, you definitely can't. That's another huge mistake learners make. It sounds like a robot talking. She is such kind woman. I am human.
Right. Yeah, it sounds very unnatural.
It's broken. If you're talking about one single physical thing, you must keep the a, or an, in the sentence. You have to serve the whole sandwich. She is such a kind woman.
And we use an when the next word starts in the vowel sound, right? Like A, E, I, O. or you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say she is such an amazing person. I'd say she is such an amazing person.
That's right. It just makes the words flow together smoothly. Such amazing person. Such an easy question.
Okay, but I have a bigger problem for you. What if I'm talking about more than one thing? Let's say I'm talking about friends or flowers. They are solid objects, but there are lots of them. I can't use the word a because a means just one. So what happens to the sandwich?
That's a really great question. If the solid thing is plural, meaning more than one, the rule changes slightly. You just drop the a. You don't need it.
Just drop it.
Yeah. So instead of saying, they're such a good friends, which is wrong, you just drop the a and say, they are such good friends.
Oh, that's easy. These are such beautiful flowers. You tell such funny jokes. What about things you can't count at all? Like water, weather, advice, or information? I mean, I can't say, oh, weather.
It's the exact same trick. For uncountable things, you also drop the a. You just say, it was such good weather, or she gave me such helpful advice. You never say such a good weather, just such good weather.
Okay, let me make sure I've got this straight. If it's one single solid thing that I can count, I use such or such. If it's lots of things, or a thing I can't count like water, I just use such by itself.
You've got it. Now, there's one more special way to use such, and it's actually my favorite.
Oh, what is it?
Sometimes you don't even need the describing word. You don't need the meat in the sandwich. You can use such right next to the person or thing just to show massive emotion.
Wait, really? Give me an example of that.
Well, you might hear someone say, he is such a gentleman, or she is such a leader. There's no adjective there. There's no describing word. Just such and the noun.
That's fascinating. When you say he is such a gentleman, the word such is doing all the heavy lifting. You're saying he is the perfect example, the absolute best version of a gentleman. It's packed with respect and emotion.
It really is. It shows you how powerful this one little word can be. So now that we've looked at the rules for both tools, I think it's time we put them side by side to really see how they work.
Let's do it. I'm going to give you a scenario, and let's see how we have to switch tools to express the exact same feeling. This will show everyone exactly how the mechanism works in real time.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Okay, scenario 1. We're talking about a teacher who never gets angry. First, I want to focus only on the stretchy feeling. I want to focus on the word patient. I want to use a noun. Which tool do I use?
If you're only using the stretchy feeling, you use so. You say, the teacher was so patient.
Perfect. Now, I want to say the exact same idea, but I want to add the physical person into the phrase. I want to end the sentence with the noun teacher. What happens?
Well, the heavy noun breaks the word so. You have to switch tools. You have to build the sandwich. You say, she was such a patient teacher. The meaning is exactly the same, but the grammar changed to support the heavy noun.
Let's do another one. Scenario 2. We're talking about how tired I am after taking a big test. Focus on the feeling of being tired.
I was so tired after the exam.
Yeah, focus on the solid object. Focus on the exam.
It was such a tiring exam. Again, the volume is turned all the way up in both sentences. The emotion is the same. But because we introduced the solid thing, the exam, we had to switch to such.
Scenario 3. Let's talk about someone who speaks rapidly. Focus on the action. Focus on the adverb fast.
He speaks so fast.
Now, change the sentence to focus on the person. Focus on the noun speaker.
He's such a fast speaker.
You know what I love about this exercise is that it shows you can't just swap one single word. When you decide to add a noun, you often have to rebuild the entire sentence. He speaks so fast. It completely changes its shape to become, he is such a fast speaker.
Yeah, they sound totally different.
But both are 100% correct, and native speakers switch between them constantly without even thinking.
Which is exactly why we're teaching you the mechanism today. Once you know the rule, you don't have to think about it either.
And to make it even easier, I want to share the golden rule. If you're speaking English and you suddenly feel confused, and you don't know whether to use so or such, just ask yourself one simple question. Are you ready?
Let's hear the golden rule.
Ask yourself, is there a noun right here? Ask yourself, am I holding a solid object in this sentence? If the answer is yes, use such. If the answer is no, use so.
That is the ultimate trick. Is there a solid object? If yes, use such. If no, use so. By the way, we're about 10 minutes into our deep dive now, and I have a quick question for everyone listening. Have you ever made this mistake? Have you ever frozen up and accidentally said something like, so a nice girl, or so a good movie?
I bet a lot of people have.
Oh, definitely. But don't be embarrassed. Write your answer in the comments below. Tell us the funny mistakes you've made.
Definitely share your stories in the comments. And while you're scrolling down there, remember to hit the subscribe button and share this deep dive with any friends who are also learning English.
Now, I want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. We spent a lot of time talking about grammar rules, noun phrases, and solid objects. But why does any of this actually matter? Like, why should a learner care about getting this perfectly right?
Because learning English isn't just about passing a speaking test. It isn't just about reading a textbook. It's about connecting with real people in the real world.
Exactly. These two tiny words carry real human feeling. In everyday American and British English, these aren't cold mathematical rules. They are tools for showing warmth, empathy, and genuine emotion.
Yeah.
When someone looks you in the eye and says, "You are so kind," you don't just process the vocabulary, you feel the emotion behind the words.
Think about a friend giving you a birthday present.
Yeah.
You open it up. If you look at them and say, "This is a nice gift," it's polite, it's fine, but it feels a little flat, right?
It feels very flat. But if you look at them and say, "This is such a beautiful gift," that changes everything. The word "such" adds incredible weight to the sentence. It tells your friend that the feeling is deep and real. It makes them feel appreciated.
Native speakers rely on these words constantly in daily life to build relationships. Think about the phrases you hear every day. "I'm so sorry, that's so sweet, you've been such a great help." These words are everywhere.
They really are.
And when you learn to use them correctly, your English stops sounding robotic. You stop sounding like a beginner reading from a script. You sound real. You sound totally fluent.
Using these words correctly is the difference between simply delivering information and actually sharing your heart. If you're in the UK, you might hear someone say, "He's such a lovely bloke," or "Oh, it's such a shame." These phrases give your spoken English real personality and flavor.
I really want you, the listener, to remember that "so" and "such" are the volume buttons for your heart. That's why taking 20 minutes today to learn this rule is completely worth the effort. It's going to change the way you communicate with people.
It really will. All right, I think it's time for a short recap. Let's remind everyone of the golden rule one last time before we finish our lesson today.
Good idea.
Remember, use "so" right before stretchy describing words, like adjectives and adverbs. Use "so" for quantity chunks. So much, so many, so few, so little.
And use "such" when you are dealing with a heavy, solid noun phrase. Keep the "a" or "an" for single items, like "such a good day." Drop the "a" for plural things or uncountable things, like "such good weather." And when you're speaking, always ask yourself, is there a noun? Is there a solid object here? If yes, grab "such." If no, grab "so."
You're doing very well. We've covered a lot of ground today, and we want to warmly remind you one last time to please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Your support is what helps this channel grow. It helps us reach more English learners around the whole world who need simple, clear lessons just like this one. It only takes 2 seconds, but it means everything to us.
Yes, thank you so much for supporting us. Learning a new language is really hard work. Sometimes it feels overwhelming, but you aren't doing it alone. We're here to help you every step of the way.
Before we say goodbye, we have a simple challenge for you. We want you to try this out right now. Go to the comments section and try to write one complete sentence using the word "so" and one complete sentence using the word "such."
Don't be afraid to make a mistake. We read every single comment, and we absolutely love seeing you practice what you've learned. Put yourselves out there.
Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep pushing forward. You're doing so well, and we're very proud of the effort you're putting in. Goodbye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Before you close the app, I want you to think about that volume button idea one more time. When you finally master "so" and "such, you aren't just getting louder. You're making sure the person listening to you truly understands your feelings. When you get these two tiny words right, you don't just speak English better. You finally allow the world to hear exactly who you are. Keep that in mind the next time you turn up the volume. Take care, everyone.